Well, we are just mere moments away from the beginning of the 2024 Grand Slam season down under in Melbourne, Australia. Melbourne. It is the 2024 Australian Open. And Mr. Goat, the talking tennis cat, he's not here right now. It's very cold. We have Arctic blasts here in the United States. But despite that, Mr. Goat was down here earlier preparing all of my notes and everything that I thought was noteworthy from the 2024 preseason going into this year's Australian Open. So let's get started. Many of you may not even remember that there was a comeback from Rafa Nadal, and it started with this. Dominic Thiem was infantilized, as you can see in this picture from the Instagram account of the tennis legend, and he was soundly defeated. I mean, that was a fun match. We had a couple really good matches. We had 3 really good matches with Rafa Nadal, and he looked great. I'd play you some clips, but Mr. Goat said you usually go too long when it comes to these draw shows, so that we'll keep it short and not show you the clips. But take from me, a lot of people thought that maybe Rafa Nadal would be able to win the Australian Open possibly. Now, it is kind of a joke, a little bit of exaggeration, but the first thing I said was Rafa looks good enough to where if he stays healthy, he could win the French Open this year. That's what I was saying when I saw Rafa in Brisbane. Also, Novak Djokovic lost in Australia for the first time since 2018 against Xian Chang. Remember Xian Chang? That was the 2018 Australian Open when Federer won his last major. And he lost to the Demon, or some Djokovic fans call him the Little Rat. Remember, he said some things about Djokovic when Djokovic got deported from the country that Djokovic didn't like. And then Djokovic destroyed him last year at the Australian Open. Demon got a little bit of revenge, but of course, there were some injury concerns with, not obviously with Rafa, but with Djokovic as well. We'll talk about that. But next up, what is it? Nothing about Grigor Dimitrov and his underwear is in the notes. Mr. Goat, what the heck is this? Next. Okay, so we get into the next up. We get into the wrist injury. Now, Djokovic says as of right now, it's all better. He's good. He hasn't felt any pain, he said, since the match with the Little Rat down under. So Novak Djokovic should be good to go with the wrist injury. He says he can't guarantee it's not going to come back later on in the match, as in the tournament, as he plays more and more matches. It could get worse. It could. But as of right now, it is not a problem. But I did like this. Nick Kyrgios says, change of balls every week finally gets to Novak's wrists. The ATP really needs to do something about this problem. Players suffer all the time. Well, the ATP said they are going to do something about the problem. More on that a little bit later. Let's go to the next. What the heck is this? Okay, that's not in the notes. Next. Okay, so, like I said, Nadal looked really good to the point where you saw memes like this. I bet he's thinking about other women, thinks the woman on the left. But the man on the right in bed is thinking, can Nadal actually win the Australian Open? He looked good. I mean, he looked really good. Maybe not that good. But if Djokovic was deported again, he looked good enough to make you think maybe he could win it somehow. Next. Mr. Goat is upstairs in the control center for sure, manipulating this whole thing. None of that is true. That's not true. I'm not in love with Grigor Dimitrov. Anyways, memes that said, can Rafa win the Australian Open quickly changed to memes like this. How my week started with Nadal's return versus how it's going. The Rafa fans losing their minds in a puddle of their own urine and feces in a room, going insane. Some Nadal fans. Not all Rafa fans are like that, Anyways, next up from Rafa himself. Hello. During my last match in the Brisbane, I had a small problem in a muscle that, as made me worried. Once I get to the Melbourne, I have had the chance to make a MRI, and I make a micro tear in the muscle. Not in the same part where I had the injury, and that is a good news. Right now, I am not ready to compete at the maximum level of the exigence? Did Rafa really say that? The maximum level of exigence in 5 sets matches. I'm flying back to España to see my doctor, get some treatment, and get the rest. Okay, so Rafa, that's how it ended up. Mats Wilander said this. Now, I'm pretty optimistic about Rafa's injury, and we'll take a deeper dive into it in a moment. But first, let's look at some of the responses out there. Johnny Mack said Rafa's going to have to make a decision about retiring. Mats Wilander said this. We've gotten used to him coming back and doing the non-human thing of coming. It sounds like a mix between Jim Courier and I don't know who else. Let's just do it normal. We've gotten used to him coming back and doing the non-human thing of coming back from injury time and time and time again. And maybe now at 37 years old, maybe this is the last time that he was able to come back. Very dramatic. A lot of drama out there. Look, it's the same as with the Federer comeback. If he can get healthy, it's not like he forgot how to play tennis. He's still going to be able to win. And, it's not going to happen overnight. I think, like Rafa was saying, and again, we'll play what he actually said. I think some of the stuff that Rafa said is true. This is actually good news. It is in the same area, but last time it wasn't muscle, it was tendon. I don't know. We're going to play exactly what he said in just a moment. But I think it's pretty good, and for the most part, people are kind of overreacting. Let's look at the moment. The moment it happened in the match against Jordan Thompson. So right away when I saw this, everyone watching saw this. I mean, Rafa doesn't look super concerned, but he's grabbing his hip. It's the left hip. That's where he had the surgery. Very concerning stuff. I know this is a draw show, but I want to talk about Rafa first because that was really the big news, and he looked so great. Let's go to Rafa talking about it.
It's difficult for the body to be playing tournaments at the highest level, and when the things are becoming more difficult, you don't know how your body gonna react. I am practicing at the highest level for 4 months, no? As I said, the last month.
He's been doing this for a while. He's been looking good for a while.
Quite good in terms of intensity.
And that's the thing. How long can the body handle it?
But it's not a long period of time.
So, like Rob was saying, it's not a long period of time that he's been putting his body to the test. And now he is. After I think he had a day of rest after the first match again when he made Dominic Thiem his baby. He had a day off. Then he played that Australian guy. Played 2 Australian guys. What's his name? I think I gave him a win in the first round because Kubler. There he is, Kubler. I got Kubler beating Daniel Alahi Galan. As a wild card. It's probably the only wild card I picked to go through the first round. I almost never pick the wild cards to win. Anyways, Kubler played a pretty good match after the first set was kind of a blowout. And then I think Rafa had to go right into the third match. Didn't get a day of rest after that Kubler match. And that's what's really going to test it. When you're playing real matches, you have the stress of a real match, and you don't have the time off. Playing best of 5, I don't think Rafa was ready. I think Rafa went to Australia fully knowing that he might not even play the Australian Open. It was really all about seeing how it went at Brisbane. Let's play another one.
I hope it's not important, and I hope to have the chance to be practicing next week and to play in Melbourne. But honestly, I am not 100% sure of anything now.
That was before he announced, obviously, that he wasn't going to play. But he went into the details of what actually happened and how it felt and what he thinks. And I think this is the most important takeaway. I think this is the clip here.
Very similar place to what happened last year.
Similar spot to be injured.
Different stuff. No, I feel more muscle.
This is the
last
key.
year was tendon. I feel the muscle tired, and this, for sure it's not the same like last year at all, because when it happened last year, I felt something drastic.
All right, that's enough of that. So you see what Rafa is saying. This is different. This was not a sudden, horrible, drastic, catastrophic injury. And then he finished up with this.
In ideal world,
and I think we are in the ideal world.
The muscle is supercharged after a few days of effort and a very tough match. That will be the ideal thing, something that we know that can happen today, and that's why I am talking all the time that my goal is to try to be competitive in a few months.
In a few months. What happens in a few months?
From this perspective, you don't know all the information that I have.
All right, so that's enough of that. Let's move over to Novak Djokovic's injury, on the other hand. How did that one happen? That one's a little more mysterious, as are all injuries with Novak Djokovic. Lots of mystery. We'll never forget the... what did he call it? A medical intervention that he had done on his elbow. Not a surgery, a medical intervention. Anyways, just to wrap it up on Rafa, I think Rafa's right. He supercharged a muscle. The body wasn't used to pushing it this hard and this high of a level of competition. Obviously, he's probably practicing with top players, but when you're in a real match, the nerves make it a little different on the body, a little more hardcore. And in a practice, maybe you can lay off a tiny bit. I know Rafa practices pretty intensely. But in a match, especially when you're Rafa, you can't lay off for 1 second. So I think this might be an unpopular opinion. Well, popular. People will like it, I guess. I think Rafa's probably going to be okay and is going to have a decent clay season. I think they're all focused on that. I think this was part of the process, and Rafa, I think, has a pretty good chance to put in a decent clay court season. I don't know if he's going to be able to beat the best players in the world. You know, they're busy playing matches and getting better and better and working into the season. He's going to be more focused on just being able to keep the body healthy enough to keep playing matches. Hopefully he won't be getting supercharged muscles again anytime soon. Anyway, so I'm optimistic that he'll come back. I'm not super optimistic that the body can hold up for the entire Roland Garros and win it. But anything's possible. All right, let's go to Novak Djokovic.
Couple seats away from you, Fitzy.
Shaking the wrist
Yeah, he was disappointed
against the Demon.
Another 30 seconds.
The Demon did play really well. You know, he beat Zverev. He beat Taylor Fritz. I guess that's a big deal to some. And then this is where you can see, you know, I hate seeing the people. You can tell Djokovic hitting his forehand a little flatter, a little slower. Way more unforced errors on the ground strokes compared to usual. And when the wrist is hurting, it's harder to snap it on the serve, and it's harder to roll it like he would have done there to create a little shape on that forehand up the line. And then here's when he loses the set. Once again, a little shape on that to bring that down. It's like the old Novak Djokovic before he worked with, he loses the set there 6-4. It's like the old Novak Djokovic before he was working on developing topspin on that forehand. That was a game changer for him, along with improving the serve so much. So good news for Joker fans is that Djokovic says it's not a problem anymore. Maybe it could come back, but as of right now, it feels pretty good. Take a look at this, though. This was, I think everyone's on Nole's side with this one. So this guy's rubbing the hand and face, cream, whatever.
You treated yesterday.
What are you talking about? He's rubbing the cream.
So the logic in that, if it continues getting worse the next day, you won't treat it because it's already has been occurring yesterday.
You said it improved, said the Aussie guy.
No, I said it has improved before the match. And when I started playing, and the more I'm playing, it's getting worse. That's what I told you.
Joker's ready to smack this guy. And I love this. Djokovic is done with him, but the dude's still giving him an arm massage. You know, he's still rubbing the cream in, as you can see. And, you know, if it was a telephone conversation, Djokovic would go on the physio right then, right? But you can't do it when the guy's there rubbing the face and body and sometimes penis cream onto your forearm like that. You can't exactly tell the guy to F off and go away. I mean, I guess he could have, but it's awkward. Anyways, I just thought it was an interesting scene. The best part was later, the physio comes back. He's like, hey, do you need some more treatment? Djokovic won't even talk to him. He gets Victor Troicki to tell him, no, Djokovic doesn't want your treatment, guy. And he sends him away, and then he starts rubbing. You see that? That's Victor Troicki, who's now the coach. And he's rubbing Djokovic's arm instead of the physio. Gotta love that. Anyways, all right, what's next? I hope it's not a picture of Grigor Dimitrov naked. Okay, no, it's not. This, I don't know who said this. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Sports skied up. No one takes Novak Djokovic's injury seriously anymore, says a tennis commentator on the Serbs' latest comeback. All right, you know why? I credit Djokovic for that. No one takes his injuries serious because the guy has done a better job taking care of his body than anyone in the history, not just of the sport, maybe in the history of the world. Maybe Novak Djokovic will live forever. Maybe he'll be the first one. Or maybe the first person to live to 200 years old. Something like that. All right, moving on. The ATP WTDA announced new match schedule regulations to minimize late finishes. Strategic review on tennis balls underway. What does that mean? Well, we go to Tiebreak Tennis's Instagram account to clarify that with some bullet points and a beautiful shot of the Indian Wells Stadium in the background there. No more than 5 matches per day per court. No matches starting after 11 p.m. ever. Matches move to an alternative court if not started by 10:30 p.m. Night sessions to begin no later than 7:30 p.m. What do you think of that? Do comment down below. I saw one smart person made a comment. Hey, it works at Wimbledon. They got the curfew there. They've made it work just fine. So it should be good. What's good for the goose is good for the rest of the tour, I guess. Yeah, that's a fair point, but some of my best memories, one of them was last year in Cincinnati. It was staying for that Alcaraz match. I think it was Jordan Thompson. Yeah, it was Tomo who took out Rafa, who's good on a fast court like in Brisbane, good on a faster hard court in Cincinnati. And he almost beat Alcaraz, gave him a long match. Me and Pete were there till like after midnight, and it was great. It was great. I was very happy to be a part. It was maybe a 1 a.m. match. Those are some of my best memories are at majors when, it gets really late and you're the last people there and they don't care if you move up and sit in the front row. It kind of makes tennis unique, the fact that they have to put on all these matches back to back, and sometimes that can happen. I'll miss it for sure. I don't know if they'll be able to make this work and make everyone happy. I know, it's not fair to the players, and sometimes, you don't have a car all the time. Some people ride the train, and maybe they won't be able to make the last train when a match goes till 3 a.m, like happened at the U.S. Open not too long ago. I understand all those things, but I still think they're getting rid of something that made tennis unique and special that I really liked. And also, if they move the main match that you bought the ticket for, because it doesn't start by 10:30 to a different court, and then that court fills up right away with people who don't even have a ticket for the night session, because they're in the day. Maybe they'll do something to stop that, but who knows? Maybe it's not like that. Maybe it just fills up with people with night session tickets. You paid for a good seat. All of a sudden, you get the worst seat, or you can't even get on because they didn't get the match started fast. I can just see little things like that happening. I think it's going to be hard to make it work. It was already a tough job to get all these matches done, especially when you have rain delays and stuff like that. Moving on to the tennis ball itself. Where is this? So basically, I don't have it. Mr. Goat forgot one thing. But what it said was, currently we're under review of the ball situation, and we're going to find something that works for the players, but also doesn't impact the tournaments financially in a negative way, was the gist of what they said, which is impossible. That's not going to happen. I don't know how they're going to pull that off. And John Millman is already saying here, first thoughts in the AO 2024 ball. By the way, he's retiring or already retired, but I guess I don't know what the deal with Millman is. I think he's already retired, but I guess he just got a hold of the ball to, the guy still hits. He's not dead. Tommy Haas still hits a great ball pretty regularly. Anyways, it's similar to 2023. It's light through the air when it's new, and it almost wobbles. It's firm at contact when new, but it shows significant wear when it ages. However, I hit on an unresurfaced court, so I think newer courts will rough them up more. Think about those stadium courts at the Australian Open. I don't see how they're going to make this thing work with the ball. The whole deal was, tournaments, they're on their own in some ways. They got to find a way to be profitable. And one of the things they do is they find whoever's going to pay them the most to be the tennis ball sponsor. If you start forcing, I don't think they're going to make it the whole year. They're talking about doing it like, okay, once we're in the clay court swing, all these tournaments that warm up to the French Open should be using the same ball as the French Open, things like that. We're going to try to stay in that part of the season, keep it similar. I hope they can do it because it'll be better for the players for sure, but I have a hard time believing they're going to be able to make it work. We'll see. A couple more things that I thought were noteworthy before we get into the draw and hit the music. Grigor Dimitrov, not naked this time. He won in Brisbane, and it was his first title since the 2017 World Tour Finals, is what they still called it back then. The ATP Finals at the end of the year where the top 8 players play. He also won Cincinnati that year. It was a great year for Grigor Dimitrov. And, of course, at the beginning of 2017, he went all the way to the semifinals and had chances to beat Nadal and meet Federer in that final. Maybe he could have changed history. But he didn't. And after that, as you see, he hadn't even won a tournament. He's had moments, especially last year, where it looked like he was starting to really get some form going. It looked really good, and he looked great coming into this season. I enjoyed watching him in Brisbane, and I hope he does well. A lot of people have him as the dark horse pick, and I think he's got a somewhat favorable draw, actually, too. However, I have him losing in the round of 16 to dirty Daniil Medvedev. Dirty because on Netflix, apparently, that unwatchable show on Netflix, they tried to turn Medvedev into a bad guy. Of course, he's one of the nicest guys on tour. But whatever. There's some stats on what happens if Djokovic doesn't win, who will be number one at the end of the world. Basically, Djokovic wins, he's number one. Alcaraz wins, he's number one. And there's some other things, but we'll skip that. One thing I'd been talking about a lot last year was that Djokovic's serve reminds me of Federer as he got to the end of his career, too. So good at spot serving, so accurate. Well, a lot of people might remember when Zverev was hitting like 20 double faults a match. If you looked at this stat, this is Federer. And I don't even know what year this is from. It says World Tour Final, so 2018, 2017. I think 2019 was when they dropped the World Tour and just made it ATP Finals. So around there, you can see Federer has a tight spread. All of his tosses are, this is on first serve. All the tosses are in pretty much the same area. They're separated by 20 centimeters. When Zverev was hitting all those double faults, his was separated by a lot, by like 100 centimeters. It was bad. Look at Djokovic. This is from back then, but a little bit tighter, a little bit better than Roger Federer's. Anyways, just one important stat, especially if you play tennis out there. Get that. If you're struggling on the serve, putting the toss in the same place will help you a lot. And I think that's one key to Djokovic's game right now as he plays players who are so much younger than him. The fact that he's able to hit all the spots with his serve, with the different slices, so good at the slice serve in the deuce court, which we saw Federer use all the time as well. Rafa uses it in the ad court as a lefty. Anyways, I thought that was an interesting thing I saw in the offseason I would share with you. Of course, Nick Kyrgios was talking a bunch of trash about Boris Becker, and now they will have to work together because Nick Kyrgios is not a tennis player anymore. He's a commentator now, I guess. And finally, a picture of Mr. Goat. Mr. Goat got his wish. He got a friend to beat up on and fight with. Mrs. Cat, welcome Mrs. Cat to the family. Maybe they'll make an appearance at some point during one of the shows down under in the Australian Open. And if you want to know what I've been doing in the break, I've been getting cultured, because this is a show where I have to represent the whole country of the United States to global tennis fans around the world. I've been getting cultured because everyone knows je deviens fou quand je regarde un match de tennis. Mr. Goat said everyone thought it was going to be a picture of you and Grigor Dimitrov naked at the very end there. No, unfortunately, that was not the picture. What do I mean, unfortunately? Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. I'm your host, Matt Bradshaw. Happy to be back after a long time, but we're here and we're going to be here. We're going to stay here for the, I almost said the French Open, for that one too, for the Australian Open. Let's get into the draw and get out of here because according to my time, the tennis is about to start. So I'll try to give you a chance to watch a little bit of this before we get rolling. Let's go to the top of the draw. Novak Djokovic is playing a Croatian, which is a country that's part of Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia, along with Serbia. So that means that this young guy, Dino Pritzmic, probably has grown up idolizing Novak Djokovic. That usually doesn't work out too well when you play your idols in the ATP Tour. So I got Novak coming through, of course. Poprin and Mark the Pole man's his wild card. I'm going with Pop and his big pop and serve. Novak Djokovic over the Pop. Jannik Hoffman and Gael Monfils. You got to pick Le Monf, of course, because think of that French Open match last year. Was that the first round or second round maybe? Monfils, went through hell, and he won that match somehow. So do I think he's going to go down to Jannik Hoffman, who had like one win in the preseason? Easily could, but maybe not. Another old guy, Andy Murray. Old guys. I think I'm older than them now. Oh my God. Against Thomas Martin Echeverry. I'm gonna take the old guys. I like them. They're my friends, and I'll go with Murray over Le Monf, and then of course Novak will crush whichever one of those also old guys like him. And then I got Stanimal coming through Mannarino. I starred that match. That should be a good match. I think Stan's never beat Mannarino. Not the best matchup for him. Mannarino could probably just hang in and absorb a lot of power from Stan Wawrinka and make the guy crazy until he makes too many unforced errors to win. But I'm going to go with Stanimal because it's really hard to beat anyone, especially someone like Wawrinka 3 times in a row. Stan looked good last year, even though he had a little injury towards the end of the year. But he looks good now. I've seen clips of him hitting. I'll go with Stan. We'll take Shevchenko over Jaume Munar. This is not his surface. And, he got some wins last year, but he's been struggling for a while. We'll take Stan over Shevchenko, and then Novak will crush him. If you see the picture there, I drew that. If you can't tell what that is, I drew an old-fashioned phone from when I was a wee lad. I got Novak slamming. You see the arm is coming from Novak's name and grabbing the phone because he's gonna do it again. He probably won't do that, although I would like it if he did. But can Ben Shelton even get there to make it happen? We got Christian Garin and Christopher O'Connell. I got O'Connell on this surface. Roberto Batista Agut and Ben Shelton. Now, Roberto's had, I think, a couple wins going into the Australian Open this year. Bad year for Roberto Batista Agut, pretty much start to finish last year. How did he get in? He must have won some matches. He didn't have to qualify. Anyways, I got Big Ben coming through there, coming through Chris O'Connell, coming through Stan. It's a pretty easy draw for Big Ben Shelton until he gets to Novak, of course. Taylor Fritz, not a great start for him. He lost to the Demon to kick things off. But I'll take him over this guy, Facundo, Argentinian I've never heard of. We'll take Gojo over Baena. And we'll take Fritzy over Gojo. And then this might be an unpopular pick, but I got Cerundolo hasn't looked good. This Dane Sweeney guy is pretty inexperienced, but he did qualify. I'll take Cerundolo coming through. I think he'll figure it out in best of 5. Marozsan, that guy who, didn't he beat Djokovic last year? He got a big win over somebody. Kind of a weird game, hit a lot of drop shots. That's tough. I'll take Cilic. I think Cilic, I think of Cilic as a professional. I think he used all that time off the way we would see Federer do in 2017, the way we'd see Rafa do in this recent comeback. Unfortunately, the body let him down, but you better believe Rafa did everything he could. I think Cilic is a real professional, and he's going to come out looking pretty good. I bet he used the time off effectively. So I got Cilic coming through there. Just a guess, just a hunch, and then I have Cilic coming over Fritzy. I always pick people over Fritzy, but we'll see if that happens. I was almost going to say Cilic over Steph, but Steph's got a lot of points to defend here. Hopefully he can put it together. I got Musetti coming through Bonsai, Ducky going down to Lucas van Arslau, Vukic losing to Tomo. Tomo looked good. He's good here. Tsitsipas over Berrettini. That'll be an interesting match, but I got Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas over Musetti and Tomo. Tsitsipas over Cilic, and then Novak crushes Steph like he has so many times in the past. Then we go to Sinner. Little bit of danger for Djokovic maybe in this semifinal. I've seen some experts saying that this is the year that Sinner will beat Djokovic. Of course, Djokovic lost to Sinner at the World Tour Finals back in November. Then he beats him in the final, right? I think it was. He beat Alcaraz and Sinner back-to-back in the final pretty handily. And then they played in Davis Cup, which I didn't even watch. Davis Cup is kind of dead to me now. But Sinner beats him, loses to him, beats him. At the very end of the year, we're going to another fast hard court. I don't know. It's a tough call to make. Obviously, let's just zoom ahead. I wrote Nole, and then in parentheses, it's the wrist. If the wrist starts to bother him again, I could easily see Sinner winning. And Nole's going to have to be 100%. But will Sinner even get there? Let's look at his draw. Sinner's he's played with us a lot over the years. He looks so good, and then he loses and doesn't look so good. Let me see. I got Botic van de Zanderschulpler losing the Sinner, but that should be interesting first match. The guy was pretty good the year before last. Last year, not as good for the Boatman. And then we got Jesper de Janger Dangler against Pedro Cachin. I'll take the Niederlander. I'll take Sinner over those Niederlanders. There's 2 of them back to back. Daniel Lahi Galan, I already talked about this. I got Kubler. Kubler seemed like a nice guy when he lost to Rafa. So I picked him because of that. There you go. The Wolfmeister, I got him. And then I got him beating Kubler. I don't know if that's the best pick. Sinner will crush him. All right, so it's pretty easy so far for Sinner. TFO will beat Borna Coric, I think, but not the easiest first round. This is a guy who's done great things in the past. You really want to play him first round? We'll see what happens. I'll take TFO, though. He got better and better the last couple of years. I'm taking the lucky loser over Tomas Meshack, and TFO will beat the double L. I got Alejandro Tabilo. I think that's the guy who just won. Shelton lost in the semifinals in New Zealand. And then I think this guy, Tabilo, he beat Draper, the big British guy with the big serve. And then Tabilo beat, what's his name? Dude who beat Djokovic in 2017 when Djokovic started having the elbow. Taro Daniel. Taro Daniel lost in the final there. So I'm going with Kovacevic. He qualified. He's been here playing to qualify. This guy just flew in from New Zealand. Not a lot of time to prep. It's kind of a bad thing when you win those warm-ups. Altmaier, I have going down to Khachanov. Khachanov over Kovacevic. TFO, pretty easy draw. Sinner over TFO. I give TFO some chance, but it's a good draw so far. The Demon against Milos Raonic. Another interesting first round, but I expect the Demon to come through. Arnaldi I got coming through over the wild card. Rarely pick wild cards. Arthur Rinderknecht, German-looking name, but is a French guy. I got him over Kotov. Flavio Cipolito, Italian qualifier. I'm taking Nicolas Jarry because he's get that big bomb and serve. We'll see. And I got him over Rinderknecht too. I like Rinderknecht, but I'm taking Jarry. I take the Demon to come through there. You know, anytime you play someone on a fast service with a huge serve, if they have a great day, it can be really tough. But Demon did look good. It wasn't just Djokovic's wrist injury. Demon looked good overall to me. I'll take Korda over this guy I haven't heard of. Did qualify though, and I usually pick Korda to lose early, but we'll give Korda 1 here. I'm going to take Lloyd Harris though, beating Korda going to the third, and of course beating Quentin Halys. Chris Eubanks. I wanted to say Tar Daniel. I slashed it out. I got Eubanks coming through now because Tar Daniel just had to play in New Zealand and get no prep time. But it'll be interesting to see how Eubanks does this year. Could maybe he had a good year, now have a bad year, then he'll retire and be a commentator. Could see something like that happening. Be interesting to see what happens there. Tiago Seyboth Wild. I got Rublev. Over Lloyd. I got Rublev over the Demon. Sinner, I think, is a good matchup. Should be able to beat Rublev. So, yeah, actually, I do think Sinner will come through here, and Djokovic will beat him unless his wrist stops him. I do say that with a little hesitation because, you know, I poured so much, I invested so much emotion into Sinner, saying he's going to be the future of this sport, and now it looks like he could, but can he beat the greatest of all time in his house? I don't know. Maybe not yet. Holger Rune will kick things off on the bottom half of the draw against Yoshihito Nishioka. I think he beats him. And I got this Arthur Cazor, this French guy, because he just won a challenger tournament, and I didn't know this. Comment below if you know anything about this. Nouvelle-Calédonie. It's a French island. Is it colonized? Is it a colony? Is Arthur Cazor, is he a colonialist? I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm taking this guy, the colonialist guy, right? Just took this island next to Australia for France, right? What is the deal with that? What is this place? Comment below if you know anything about it. He took over that island, won the tournament, and I'm picking him, but then he goes down the route. So he won't get to, enjoy it too long. I like Arthur Fils. I got him coming through Yuri Vesely, although Yuri Vesely could be a potentially tricky first-round opponent. Roman Sefulin, guy was really awesome on the faster indoor courts last year. I always pick Talon Griekspoor to win matches that aren't against big names. I really like Talon Griekspoor, but I'm going with Sefulin. He's got the hot hand. And then him over Arthur Fils, and then Sefulin goes down to Holger Rooney Dooney. Okay, Ugo Humbert. I'm going with Goffin. Goffin looks good to me. Goffin had a bad year last year. We know he's very talented. We know he's one of the best movers on tour. He qualified. I'm going to take him over Humbert. I think that's another one where maybe in the head-to-head. No. I don't know what their head-to-head is. I didn't even bother looking. Xi Jinping. No relation to Xi Jinping. I got him over Federico Coria. I got Goffin, the Gopher, taking him out. Shapovalov, not been impressive for a while. I got him losing to some qualifier named Minsik. Ultimate disrespect to El Chapo. Hooby Dooby, we got him coming through. I wanted to say Goffin beats him, but no, Hooby Dooby should not lose here. However, I think he'll lose to Rune. Rune, mentally tougher than Hooby Dooby. Grigor Dimitrov, excited to see. Tough first match. Marty Fucsovics is a beast. Speaking of another guy who looks good with his shirt off, Dimitrov and Fucsovics. That will definitely see some people in the crowd hooting and hollering when they take their shirts off on the changeovers. But I got Dimitrov coming through because he looked so good. He looked so good finishing up last year. He looked really good. I'm trying to remember what tournaments he impressed me in last year, but multiple tournaments Dimitrov impressed me last year. And, of course, here in Brisbane, looked very good. Got him taking out Kaki Naki, who might be able to beat Sebastian Ofner. That's a tough call. I got Martyrer, and then I got ADF, the Anna Delvey Foundation, coming through Constant Lestien. ADF goes down to Dimitrov. Felix Auger, not been impressive. I'll say big baby team will take him out. Tough pick there, but I start because it'll be an interesting match to watch, just like that Dimitrov Vucevic one. Got Grenier coming through. Kipson, I do not. Rutsavoy, I'm big on him. Medvedev, this is Medvedev's section. Medvedev's going to come through. I don't care how good Dimitrov looks. I think Medvedev will beat him. But I started. I think it'll be a good match, and I think Dimitrov will have a chance, but Medvedev should win that. And I would think Medvedev will beat Rune and make this an all-Russian semifinal. Let's go to the big bad man, Sasha Zverev. He is starring in the Netflix special, so he's been fully, what's the word I'm looking, he's been resuscitated? No, his image has been resuscitated. Anyways, whatever the word I was thinking of, I'm not finding it, doesn't matter. Of course, he'll beat Dominic Kepfer, a fellow German, Deutscher-speaking guy. Sun-Woo Kwon, I got the qualifier taking him out. Zverev coming through there pretty easy. There's not a lot of danger. There's Alex Michelson guy. I got him coming through over the wild card. I like him, but he's very young and inexperienced. Yuri Leheshka coming through there. Zverev taking out Leheshi. Cam Snorri has a wrist injury, and unlike Novak Djokovic, he seems to think it's going to be more of a problem. It's still bothering him a little. It's getting better, he said. I think he'll be able to win a couple matches, but I don't think he'll take out Casper Ruud, who typically I wouldn't pick on a surface like this. Let's see. Got Purcell. Ruud over Ramos Vinolas. That's a good draw here. Ruud over Cam Snorri. And Zverev should be able to crush Ruud, but maybe I start it. It could be a very interesting match. TP, Tommy Paul, Gregoire Berard. That's expert French I've been working on in the offseason. Gregoire Berard. Going down to TP. Marcus Giron. Tough draw. Jack Draper will get him, I think. TP comes through Draper, maybe. Kecmanovic. TP's got some points to defend here, doesn't he? Got him coming through. Rinky Dinky Hijikata. Goes down to Struffy Struff. Goes to the third round and loses the TP. We'll see. Struff could be dangerous. Bublik, I got him coming through 1. I got Mackie McDonald coming through the wild card. I got Bublik beating Mackie Smacky. Dan Evans, another guy who's injured, feeling better. I picked him over Sonego. Sonego leads the head-to-head 2-0. You might be thinking, Matt, what hit the music, we're getting out of here. You might be thinking, Matt, what are you thinking? It's hard to beat guys 3 times, and Dirty Dan is so good here. I think it's his calf muscle or his hamstring, somewhere in his leg. If that's feeling better, I like Dirty Dan here. I always do. And Alcaraz and Gasquet can't catch a break. Oh, I'm not done yet. Gasquet, bad draw for him. I think Alcaraz will come through. Novak Djokovic has said the biggest threat to him winning this year is himself, which I totally agree. Some people see that as a snub to Alcaraz. I don't know if this is the tournament for Alcaraz. I think French Open, Alcaraz will have a really good chance. Wimbledon defending champion, yeah, that should be good for him. And U.S. Open's always good for Alcaraz. But this one plays a little different than U.S. Open, even though the U.S. Open is faster now. So I don't think he's an automatic favorite, and I have him beating all these guys, all these losers, until he gets to Sasha Zverev. Zverev, he's coming for it all. Zverev's got unfinished business, as he has said. I would like to see Alcaraz beat Zverev. I don't know if that will happen. I'm going with Zverev there, although Alcaraz, I heard, that's the thing. Sinner and Alcaraz, they didn't play any tune-up, warm-up tournaments, so you don't really get to see him, but the word on the street is Alcaraz has been busting it in the gym really hard. Sinner been training especially hard, so maybe we're going to see these guys how professional they truly are. Maybe they're going to wow our socks off and be unbelievable. Maybe one of them will win this thing. Who knows? But for now, based on what I know about these guys from last year and all the years leading up to this moment, I got Medvedev and Zverev in the final, with one of those BS Russians winning it, and Nole in the semifinal, and Nole waiting for them in the final after beating Sinner, provided his wrist is okay. And then with that, I guess I got to call one of them. I'm taking Medvedev over Zverev. Medvedev and Djokovic in the final. Djokovic wins. Comment below if you disagree. Enjoy the tennis. We'll be back. See ya!